I used to be afraid of you, but I don't think I am anymore.
There's nothing to fear except God.
For me, God is a disease.
It's the things that make you look at what you thought you saw in a different light. The hole in the Pentagon being too small for a plane. The lawn isn't mussed up. The government's not showing the plane hitting when many cameras photographed it.
There's nothing to fear except God. God. God.
Oh, if you already know the answers to your questions, then why ask?
It's too big.
Back and to the left, 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 back and to the left.
Hello, everyone. This is Half of God's Face podcast. Austin is alive. We were joking last episode about him being killed by intelligence. He is here.
Hello, Zach. It is nice to see you on another episode of the Half of God's Face podcast. I am sorry I am dead, but I am ready too.
So there we go. He's not dead.
I'm so fucked. Wait.
We played a practical joke on the audience. No one noticed. No one mentioned it to me yet. So I think the audience just was like happy that you died, to be honest. But I mean, that's not for me to say. That's for the people to make a decision here. But we're here again. We're back. We're so back to talk about specifically the Cannes Film Festival, which wrapped up
Did
very recently. I'm pretty sure it wrapped up like 2-3 days ago, and I figured along with the Oscars, Cannes is a very important moment in film, and I've followed the Cannes Film Festival, like news out of that festival of premieres and stuff, and trailers get released like probably since I want to say like 2014 I really started following it. But yeah, I've tried my best. I got there's a podcast that Nabil told me about called More, which is pretty cool. It was like some film critics. One of them, Mark Pranson, who's definitely like a really great film critic. He's like kind of friends with like Albert Serra and Hong Sang-soo and some really great filmmakers. So hearing him, I heard a couple episodes where he gave his takes, but just I was basically getting a lot of news that way from the festival. But yeah, and then I don't know. It's kind of funny because when we did our Con preview show, we kind of we didn't. It wasn't a full show. It was like we mentioned it at the end of an episode.
Yeah.
That was before Be Gone and Lav Diaz's films were added, and I think Be Gone was in competition, but Lav Diaz was just like a premiere. But that made the festival. That made me 100 times more excited for the. I was like, damn, this lineup doesn't look very good. And then all of a sudden, Lav Diaz and Be Gone show up in the screen being screened, and we'll definitely get to that. But that's when I really got pumped. And then the jury was incredible. Did you see who was on the jury?
Well, I have it up right here. I got Juliette Binoche, Halle Berry.
Yeah, Juliette Binoche was the president of the jury. Yeah, and then Hong Sang-soo, who's one of the greatest filmmakers in the world, and then Regatas, two of the greatest filmmakers in the world, and then Jeremy Strong, another great actor.
Yeah.
So when I saw the jury was that good, I got really hype. And so I'll just go through the winners real quick, and then I can kind of say what I heard about some of the different movies. Have you been like following anything in particular with the festival?
Definitely the American entries, but also, obviously the winners.
Right. Well, I love seeing the premieres, just seeing like photos from the premieres. Like last year when Megalopolis premiered at Cannes, and it immediately was just getting shit on, and that just proceeded for a full year of people hating the movie. But still, just amazing. I remember the photos of everybody, and seeing like Aubrey Plaza and stuff, and seeing her back for an Ethan Coen movie. The photos of Aubrey Plaza and Charlie Day and Margaret Qualley and stuff. I don't know if the movie's going to be any good, but I might see it just for the cast. But So the winners of the Cannes Film Festival, the Palme d'Or was to Jafar Panahi, who is an Iranian filmmaker. He worked with Abbas Kiarostami. He like was his like assistant director or something. So like the
Oh no
greatest,
shit.
yeah. So one of the all time great filmmakers, the greatest Iranian filmmaker Abbas Kiarostami, who also won the Palme d'Or with Taste of Cherry, I believe, in 1997. So a simple accident is apparently about
Yeah.
it's about a guy who's being tortured by the Iranian regime, and then he he gets free eventually. I don't know the exact. I think it's just like he gets released or something. I don't know the exact detail. I think it might be like a in the plot of the film. I don't think you see him getting tortured in the film, but basically he thinks he finds the guy who tortured him like in the outside world, and then him and like some other people are deciding if they want to like murder this guy is the plot.
Huh.
But and so it sounds good. The critics on the podcast I was mentioning made it sound like it was okay. And then Grand Prix goes to Sentimental Value, Joachim Trier, which he made The Worst Person in the World, which I didn't really like, but the lead actress is incredible and she's in this as well, Renette something. And then yeah, Elle Fanning is in it and that Skarsgård dude. Yeah, Stellan Skarsgård is in it.
One of the 55 of them.
Renette Rainseva or Rainseve. Man, I'm gonna sound like
Yeah.
such an idiot having no idea how to say her name, but no, she's amazing. So I don't know if that how good that movie would be, but that was kind of what people were saying. Sentimental Value was going to win the Palme d'Or, so it won Grand Prix, which I think is basically like third place, and then the joint jury prize is just this movie Surat and this other movie called Sound of Falling. And I heard great things about both. Sound of Falling
Yeah.
sounds like a psychological thriller. And I saw like little clips that looked it kind of looked like like Haneke's The White Ribbon kind of vibe from a
Interesting.
distance. Yeah, I don't know too much about it, but Surat by Oliver Lax, I heard was like incredible. I heard that's like one of the best films of the festival. Surat, which is apparently it's like about a father trying to find his daughter at a rave, and then it's like this he's like at a rave and then it's just like this immersive experience of like people dancing and like and then he doesn't find her and he goes to another rave and then eventually the movie like not to spoil anything but I've heard like kind of rumors on what happens, but the movie is like has crazy twists and turns and it just goes in places you would never expect. But the Oliver Lack seems like a pretty solid director, and then Mashka Shalinsky for The Sound of Falling. I probably should mention with Sentimental Value too that Charlie XCX gave a shout out to that movie before it ever premiered. Did you see that when I was posting our I think the Inherent Vice episode, but
Oh.
it was when she was at I think Coachella and she had the screen flashing all these different artists she was excited for, and like one of them was PTA Summer, and then another one was Cronenberg Summer, and
Yeah.
another one was Joachim Trier Summer. So Elle Fanning, she was wearing a shirt at one of the like photo ops that said Joachim Trier Summer.
What the
So
fuck?
they were pretty pumped that they, got one of the biggest pop stars on earth like excited to see their movie. And then best director, this is another one I'm really excited for. Have you heard of this movie The Secret Agent?
I have not. I don't have anything written about it, so.
So essentially it's like a Brazilian film. It won best director and best actor.
Ah shit. Well,
So it won Kleber Mendoza Filho. And then the actor is Wagner Moura, and he's like the
okay.
secret agent. And I heard it's like this incredible like thriller that's like kind of abstract and stuff. And everyone loved it. Everyone said it was like tremendous. Like that and Surat, to me, those are the highest rated. So I was taking a little bit. It was kind of out of left field. Like I just didn't think the Panahi was going to win. I get it. Panahi is just such a courageous filmmaker, and he's like so critical of the current Iranian regime. Like, it's very dangerous for him to make his films. And I've only seen Taxi from him, and he's like it was awesome. I loved it. I thought Taxi was a tremendous film, but I did not expect Panahi to win the Palme d'Or because I thought The Secret Agent was going to win the Palme d'Or. That's like what I was hearing. But Sentimental Value also
Yeah.
was in the mix. And then
I heard it
screenplay.
was going to be Sentimental Value, like
Yeah,
most of the weeks, but
yeah. That's what Matt told me too, and he was paying attention. Matt said his wife literally got an interview with the lead of Sentimental Value.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah. And then the Dardenne brothers, I'm like very lukewarm on the Dardenne brothers. They've definitely made some like good movies, but they won best screenplay. They're just like a constant fixture at Cannes. They're like they're the filmmakers. They're always in competition, and I never see like their film. But I've seen 2 or 3 of their films, and I just think they're like okay as filmmakers. But they're a fixture. And then best actress goes to Nadia Malidi for
Yeah.
La Petite Dernier or Dernier. The director is Hafsia Herzi. I actually don't know anything about that film. So it looks like it is about the youngest of 3 daughters. So yeah, it kind of just looks like a coming of age story about a lesbian.
Hey.
Interesting. Okay, so yeah, that's probably the lead actress of that movie, won Best Actress. So congratulations to her. And special award goes to Be Gone. And that was interesting. I didn't expect that either because people hated the Be Gone. Everyone's saying it's like, because if you watch Kali Blues and then A Long Day's, I always get the fucking title wrong. Hold on a second. Yeah, Kali Blues and then Long Day's Journey into Night, you would be like, wow, this is one of the greatest directors working today. They're such transcendent masterpieces. So he set the bar really high. But I heard Resurrection is like not plot driven at all. Like it's like about like it's like a science fiction film where there's like it's like all dream sequences. And there's like a thin plot, and some people described it as like the most ambitious film of the festival, which had me really interested. But yeah, I could keep going through some of the, because then they have all these other awards for Un Certain Regard, and then they got short films, but it's not really worth going into some of the. It's harder. It's harder for me to even know what some of these are. Yeah, I guess this is worth mentioning. The Camera d'Or prize is a big deal. That's like the best debut feature, I believe. And that went to The President's Cake, which actually looked pretty cool, by Hassan Hadi. It looked like it was a movie that had to do with like Saddam Hussein's Iraq or something.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, so that was another one I would mention as far as like the award winners, and I don't know some of these others. So yeah, there's maybe in a couple months someone, because that always ends up happening. It's like you hear about these movies like way later too. Like I mean, we literally just did our episode on the Shrouds, and that was at last year's Cannes Film Festival. It just came out. You know what I mean?
I've seen in Cleveland they were showing a screening today. It's basically like our the Cinematheque in Cleveland is basically like our music box, I would say.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. But
did,
no, I mean
Scarlett Johansson and Kristen Stewart make their debuts? Because I'm reading their names. I don't know if it shows the
yeah as directors. Yeah, I haven't really heard about their movies. I mean, I think they're I mean, I'm very anti actor directing movies. I think they should be discouraged from doing that, and they should be viciously attacked. But
should be blackmailed into never doing it again and pressured through physical and financial.
Yeah, and don't worry, I'm not just talking about female first time directors. I'm talking about the men too. I'm talking about fucking Kevin Costner doing Dances with Wolves. Get the fuck out of here, Kevin.
You don't like Dances with Wolves?
I haven't even seen it in forever, but in the spirit of that, get out of here. Get out of here, buddy.
Gets a lot more shit because like it beat Goodfellas for Best Picture, but
Yeah, I don't think it's. I don't
nobody's
think it would
watching
be
that
that
in the
great.
2020s
I don't think
or
it'd
the
be that great on a
2030s or the
rewatch.
2040s.
Yeah, maybe not. That just ages so badly. Where you win an award over a movie that every fucking person you've ever met has quoted to you for our
Yeah.
entire lives. Every person we've ever met, and anyone that even mentions they like movies, seems to love Goodfellas. And I've never met one person that brought up Dances with Wolves. So that aged really great. So
I
anyway,
mean, my great aunt really likes it.
no, I'm sure people like it. I mean, my mom loves Ordinary People, which I would
Oh.
also distinguish as one of these movies because it's Robert Redford directed, and he won Best Director over Scorsese for Raging Bull.
All
And you're
right,
just like,
action.
and you're just
Roll
kind
the
of like,
camera.
oh my god, I didn't. I remember liking Ordinary People when I saw it. I think it's just kind of like a melodrama, but not giving Scorsese Best Director for Raging
Yeah.
Bull. I'm literally just gonna bring this up every episode, even if it has nothing to do with Scorsese. I'm just
There's
gonna
like
keep bringing it up.
something you should do is engage in these like Facebook posts that have name the best fight scene from a movie, and I just commented any scene from Raging Bull
Yeah,
and got some likes and felt my satisfaction, then dipped out.
yeah. No, I mean lists and everything are very helpful in the world of film in a lot of ways, but no. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So I just went through the winners, and there are a bunch of other films that I didn't even touch on that I heard crazy ass shit about. But yeah, I mean, we could. I don't know. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to? How many did you list out for what you're really looking forward to?
Well, I did 5, so
Okay,
you
nice.
probably have maybe a bigger list than me, so you can start. I would say.
Oh no, well you can just start naming stuff. There's probably some overlap.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I do really want to not bring this up, but I have to do it again, and I just say Eddington
Yeah, yeah.
because it kind of reminds me, at least in terms of my hype for it, it reminds
Mhm.
me of when we were talking a little bit about Bulworth. Granted,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't seen the film, but if contemporary filmmakers are tackling some sort of, I guess, like very seemingly hyper political film, I
Mhm.
like that because it's almost, you should really be afraid of that. I think, right, right now to do that, because it's
Yeah,
almost
I
kind of
don't know.
like, oh, whatever, okay, pff. But I don't know. I guess what helps it is kind of understanding his films before this movie as being, I guess, more horror oriented. But
Mm.
I don't know. I just love the idea of an Ari Aster movie with fucking handguns. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
just people
No, I've
getting
heard.
shot and then people being like on Instagram like screaming about it.
Yeah, and it's like a COVID era movie.
Yeah, dude. And seemingly, I mean, I don't know. It didn't really seem to do that good at Con for
Yeah,
what I'm looking at.
it got a lot of mixed reviews, and the podcast I listened to, the More podcast, they absolutely hated it.
Oh, but
But
see, I
they
like
were.
that.
I mean, critics have. I mean, so their comments. You hear critics make certain comments, and you're just kind of like, yeah, that's a horrible thing to say, and I completely disagree. And
Yeah.
I'll get to the movie I'm most excited for. I don't even need to say it. It's kind of
Mm.
obvious. I'm going to end up saying it a little later, but in the podcast they just had one guy in particular just had the most hideous takes on the movie I'm most excited to see. But no, in
Oh
fairness, yeah,
wow.
Eddington sounds like there's a lot going on, which is what makes me intrigued about it. It seems like it has like a very consequential plot, like a lot going on. It seems like it's a little long, like it's like 2.5 hours long, I think is one
Oh my
complaint,
god.
or something like that, where some of the critics thought it was just like a little bit long at times. And then also they didn't seem to think he tackled the COVID thing great. But I'm open minded open-minded to seeing like what that even is, you know. And apparently the Joaquin Phoenix plays like a sheriff that has asthma, but he's like an
Oh, he has
anti-masker.
asthma? That's great.
Yeah, but he's like an anti-masker.
Oh, that's great. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I really think it's probably going to inspire a lot more movies like it to come,
Mhm.
which may be better or worse, but it's good to
Yeah, it's
see.
just
It's good to see like maybe where this template will be.
yeah, I think we're still kind of in our infancy with understanding COVID, like as a world and as like a people. But I'm curious. I'm skeptical,
Yeah.
as in what some of the conclusions the movie will draw. But I think it sounds like it's pretty like I mean I don't know. It's just a great setting for a movie, like when everything is getting shut down and like I don't know this whole the whole political climate of that moment was just so explosive. So it would make I mean it kind of sounds like a Robert Coover novel or something, like just
Mm.
a bunch of characters that are all kind of fighting each other like in this way, you know, they're all just ideologically different. And like you said, I do appreciate trying to make movies that are contemporary because, you know, there really is a fear to make a movie set today because people
Yeah.
are they don't want to portray it like how it actually is, but they also are disgusted by the current like so many filmmakers are just so disgusted by you know the contemporary world and they would you know and when they're not disgusted they just kind of want to do their own thing and that really was like a theme of a lot of the films at con this year to be honest. So yeah,
Mm.
what else do you got on your list? I think we're going to touch on one that connected to what I was saying.
Well, the next one I have is the fucking winner.
Oh yeah, the Panahi.
In my English, it just says it was just an accident, but I'm understanding it's more like a simple accident is like more of the interpretation of the language based on like
Yeah,
way
yeah.
more links I've seen.
Yeah, I'll definitely see it. I'll definitely see it because I actually haven't seen a Jafar Panahi in a while, but he made a film called "This Is Not a Film," and it's him under house arrest in Iran.
Literally?
Yeah,
Oh my
it's like
god.
a document. It's like a documentary, like essay film, where he's just like walking around his house and talking about politics and stuff. But I've
Oh
never
my
seen it, and
god.
I hear it's amazing, you know. Um, but yeah, he's a very courageous filmmaker, so I'm interested. Yeah, it was just an accident. Seems to be
Yeah.
the English language translation, but it sounds like a kind of a harrowing movie. But
Yeah.
I think what people were thrown off with it is that he's known, like Kiarostami, he's known for being very self-aware and even
Mm.
when he makes a film that's supposed to be fiction, he like blends the line where you're not sure if it's a documentary or if it's fiction. But I heard that the movie actually doesn't do that. It's just a
Mm.
straight up drama, is what threw some people off. That he didn't do like a fourth wall break like he usually does. But obviously, won the Palme d'Or, and Regatas and Hong Sang Soo were on the jury, so
Yeah.
it's likely a you know a very good or a great movie. Just the descriptions I heard of it, I wasn't sold that it was the best movie to play at Cannes, but I definitely think it was one of the best films to screen. So it's
Well, I
probably
wonder if
still
they
a
have like
solid
a
winner.
preferential, or is it like based on like the score they give it? Because I saw like scores pop up.
Yeah, I honestly don't exactly know. But yeah, what else? What else you got? I'm not sure if there's like scores, but maybe there
Yeah.
are.
Oh, fucking Die My Love, Lynn Ramsey, dude.
Yeah, I heard that was like terrible.
Oh, see, I don't know about that because like I heard the same thing from so many people when we saw the Joaquin Phoenix movie.
Oh
You
well, yeah,
were
that's
you were never
fantastic.
really here. I yeah, like so many people in well, I guess I don't know if we're comparing like film school to like, you know, who would have had
Mhm.
access to talk about the movie right now, but I heard shitty things about that. And then I saw it and I loved that. But
That is true. That was really good. But and then I think it's like Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson, right?
produced by Martin Scorsese, dude.
Oh, nice. I
Robert
didn't know that.
Pattinson, Sissy Spacek, Nick Noble. Yeah, I don't know. I like it.
Yeah, it could be good. I don't know. Like I said, I'll get to my problems with these like critics that I was like hearing from. They also absolutely trashed the new Julia Ducournau film, the lady that won the Palme d'Or for Titan a couple years ago. Her new film
Oh,
Alpha.
Alpha. Well, wasn't
Yeah.
that supposed to do really good, and then it just didn't?
No, it I think it kind of bombed, but I think there were critics
Oh.
that loved it though. Because then I kept listening to the podcast and they had critics on like the last episode that were like, "Oh, I loved Alpha." And the guy's like, "Oh, that's funny because we all just trashed it like a couple days ago." And it's like it also did not sound as good. It definitely sounded closer to like Raw than Titan.
Mm,
Titan is pretty amazing. I don't know if you saw Titan.
I did not, but I have a good grasp on what it is.
Oh my god, if you watch that, you would be like, this is one of the most intriguing filmmakers in the world. I mean, that is like pure Cronenberg. Pure Cronenberg like
Mm.
body horror type stuff. But Alpha sounded kind of like a mess, but yeah, outside of the Lynn Ramsey, what do you got?
Sound of Falling.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, fucking women trauma. The scenes I saw from it, at least looking it up, seemed kind of Haneke-esque. Like we brought up
Yeah, yeah.
earlier with the right, you brought it up with the white ribbon.
It'll probably do. I think Sound of Falling is definitely really fucking good. I honestly don't know like what it's even about, but I just like have a vibe like from a distance.
In generations of girls connected by a farm in the Altmark. Yeah, that's vague, but okay. Each spends their youth on the same four-sided farmstead in Altmark region. They move for their respective presence, traces past of the past. Yeah, I don't know. This is so vague.
Yeah, it sounds like it's about like these girls like growing up over like generations or something. So yeah, that'll be good. And then what's the other one?
Two
You were gonna name.
prosecutors for me is like my most fucking hype, the one that I want to see.
What is that?
Two prosecutors.
No, but who made that?
Sergey Laznitsa. I probably am
Oh
pronouncing that
yeah,
wrong,
yeah,
but
yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. So you said two prosecutors. Let me look.
yeah, this film seems so fucking like stripped back, and it
Yeah,
says
Sergey
yeah,
Loznitsa.
it's basically a it says 1937 amid Joseph Stalin's Great Purge, young Soviet prosecutor comes across a letter written by a prisoner believing the man to be a victim of corruption. He seeks out justice for.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that does actually
so
sound great. Oh my god. No, I've heard of this guy before. He did this. I think he did this state funeral movie. It seems like he's connected to, which I did not see, but it looked amazing. Like an archival footage of Stalin's funeral.
yeah, well, it says he was born in what is now Belarus.
Hmm.
So,
Oh yeah, no, this guy
yeah.
is definitely connected within Russian film, I believe. I'm blanking on where I've heard his name before outside of State Funeral, but no, no, that's a good pick. I hadn't even like looked into this one. Two prosecutors. This looks incredible.
Yeah, I'm wondering, yeah, like I said, it looks very stripped back, so it almost seems kind of like, films that have like this context about the country, kind of like a
Well, I mean,
Fellini, yeah, or like
Russian
a
film is just unbelievable. Like they just have such a great history of film that I'm always interested in contemporary Russian filmmakers. Like they've just had such an incredible history since Eisenstein and
yeah.
Ziga Vertov. So, and obviously great writers, but it's just such a great setting. I mean, Alexei German, one of my favorite filmmakers, just constantly was making films about
Mm.
the Soviet Union, and it's just such a great like setting and such an intense like time period. But yeah, I got my list is I got 11 films on my list. I
Oh shit.
I think Did you put Sentimental Value on your list?
I did not.
Oh my god, yeah.
Just
So
because
I
I kind of
literally
rejected it because I was like, I just heard so much fucking buzz about it that I kind of backed out.
Damn, that's kind of funny. I don't think we have any overlap at all.
That's
but
amazing.
but I still so we're literally going to bring up 11
Oh,
different
hell yeah.
because there's one film I like you're definitely going to add it to your list when I bring it up that you just forgot to mention. But no, Honey don't
Oh, no.
I'm vaguely interested in just for the cast and I just put it on here cuz I'm like if
Oh,
it's the one with Margaret Qualley, the Ethan Cohen.
well, I did only go off of the ones that were in competition, so I kind of made that like
Oh, no. Yeah.
limitation on myself.
Yeah, because there's crazy shit that I mean, the best films were
Oh, I
not in
mean,
competition.
we're probably gonna bring up. You're
Yeah.
probably gonna bring up Magellan, but
Yeah.
yeah, that would have. Yeah, I kind of limited myself to like just what was in competition.
Right.
But
Well,
that can work for the sake of like at least half of it.
yeah. Well, Honey Don't I'm like kind of vaguely interested in. I don't know if I'm gonna see it, but I put it on there just because I love the cast. I'm like interested, even though
Everyone in it is sexy.
I
That's for fucking goddamn sure.
and I mean I'm probably still gonna see the Panahi, but I just wasn't necessarily like from everything I heard about it, it didn't sound like it was his best film. It sounded like it's still good, but that's maybe why I didn't have it on the list. And then I got Mirrors #3 by Christian Petzold, who is like a really
Mirrors.
beloved German filmmaker who he made this movie Phoenix, which I recently watched for the first time. That is an incredible movie, which is like kind of about maybe incredible is not the right word. It's a beautiful film about like this woman coming back from the Holocaust. And I actually don't know what Mirrors #3 is about, but Christian Petzold is like he's like someone that everybody loves. Like one of the critics on the podcast were like, "Yeah, this guy never makes a bad movie." And I watched a couple of his films for the first, and I've always heard about him. Like everyone really loves him. Like people that we went to school with, like adore this guy. But I just never really watched him. But yeah, they were definitely good. I wouldn't go so far to say that he's like off the charts great, but I am definitely going to see his new film. And then yeah, actually there is some overlap. I had Sound of Falling also, and then I had Nouvelle Vague. You hear about this?
Richard Linklater, huh?
Yeah, because I heard some people hated it, but then some of the descriptions I heard, it sounded just like a vintage Richard Linklater movie, but it was, it's like black and white and it's about the making of Breathless. And it has all these kind of, it's very thorough about talking about all the people that were working in France in that moment. So he'll have like, Jacques Rivette and Truffaut, and I'm sure Romer pops up and all these different people that worked on the films. Like, so it's like a very like for a cinephile, it would be a really fun experience. But it definitely sounds like a vintage, lighthearted Linklater, And he said something interesting. I kind of liked about why he made this movie. He said he thinks every filmmaker at some point should make a movie about making movies, and so he always kind of wanted to make a film about someone making a film, which is an interesting take. I don't know if I whatever. I mean, obviously, I kind of have at times a very self-aware style, but I don't know if I would do it the way that he's doing it. But I definitely think it's going to be really good. So I'm going to see it. And then yeah, I had Sentimental Value just because there were some amazing moments in Worst Person in the World, but it ended up just being like kind of bad, like kind of just like empty. And it just was not as good as I thought it was going to be. But I do think Sentimental Value is going to be better than Worst Person in the World. And I mean, the cast is just so great, and it definitely doesn't seem like
Yes.
it doesn't seem like it's the same style of movie. So I think it's going to be a little bit. But so here's the movie you missed 100% on your list, which is
Yeah.
crazy that you didn't have this on your list. The Mastermind.
The Mastermind.
directed by Kelly Reichardt. It's starring Josh O'Connor, who's kind of like an up and coming actor people like love. He was in this movie La Chimera, which a lot of people love.
this is the one with fucking a lot of Haim, isn't it? Oh my god.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
a lot of Haim
okay.
is,
I have
a lot of Haim is in it.
I don't know anything about this, so please,
It sounds incredible. It was like one of the best reviewed movies of the festival. People thought this was going to win the Palme d'Or. Some people, like, it got insanely good reviews from everybody. It's apparently about a guy who's like he's trying to pull off like an art thievery. He's trying to like steal like art, but then it's set in the backdrop. And the backdrop of the movie is like the Vietnam War protests, and it's all about this guy kind of being detached from like the political moment. So again, it kind of a parallel with today as far as like there is like kind of a comment in it, but yeah, it does sound amazing. Like there's like full on, and she's kind of an awesome filmmaker. I think I've only seen maybe one or two of her films, probably just one of her films, but she has a style that is very laid back or almost like slow cinema at times and like very content. So what's interesting about this is it's almost like a genre film a little bit, like a thriller. And then but then it's kind of like an anticlimactic thriller where like it's not even it's like a MacGuffin that it's gonna be a thriller, and then it becomes like, and it apparently everyone's saying that the title is ironic because this guy is just like a loser. Yeah. The main character is just like a loser living off like his parents' money and just doesn't really seem interested in anything, and he just kind of fucks up everything, and then he tries to be like a thief, I guess. And no, I'm actually really hype about this one. I think The Mastermind is undoubtedly going to be one of the best films of the year. And then obviously I had to have Resurrection, the new Be Gone. I I wouldn't say, because yeah, I get it. Like Be Gone is just a wild guy. The reviews I'm hearing for the new Be Gone, I don't know. It's tough for me to imagine what this film's going to be. I think it's possible this movie is just incredible, but I think it's also I think it's also possible that this movie is
yeah.
a little bit out there. Like it might not have any emotional like connection for an audience member, like no like identifiable characters. And because the thing with his first two movies is that he introduces all these characters, and then over the course of the film their names gather significance. So by the time you get to the ending of the film, which is always spectacular, both in Collie Blues and in Long Day's Journey into Night, those movies both end with a 1 hour tracking shot
What?
in each movie. And Long Day's Journey into Night tracking shot is in 3D. If you watch Long Day's Journey into Night, you would literally lose your mind. You would be like, that's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. So he set the bar really high, and it does make me it doesn't make me nervous because I love experimental film. I love films that don't have plot, but it does make me slightly hesitant to think that this movie is going to be as good as I was expecting, based on the fact that it's so clearly, but who knows? I think he's just a transcendent filmmaker, and I still could imagine this being great, but I'm not quite as like. But then again, I'd heard the same thing about Long Day's Journey into Night when it came out, and I gave Nabil and people that were at the screening in Cannes a lot of shit because I remember them at the time being like, "Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't as good as Collie Blues." And then me and Mike saw it at the local AMC out here in Chicago, and we were like, "That was fucking crazy." we couldn't, and Mike hates everything, so he was floored by Long Day's Journey into Night. He couldn't believe any of the because Be Gone, and this is what gets me a little bit annoyed of the critics too, is they have a very pretentious attitude about like stunning art. like they look at Be Gone and they think he's trying to show off is the vibe they have for him. And it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I kind of understand that that can happen, but also if you have a movie where it ends with an hour-long shot, that's just a great movie. I mean, like that's not trying to show off. You see what I'm saying? I mean, you're not going to see a Paul Thomas Anderson movie and then you're going to look at like a crazy extended long take and be like, yeah, I don't know. He's just kind of like trying to prove that he can do a great shot. It's like, yeah, that's probably a good thing, but I've heard people say that Resurrection is like the most ambitious movie at Cannes this year, but here is a movie I wanted to talk about. Here is a deep cut for you.
Oh, drop the bomb.
Prepare yourself. This movie, I just heard about this today, and I was reading an interview with the director. It it sounds like he's gonna like get into trouble for making this.
Holy shit.
So it's called Yes. It's an Israeli film. It was out of competition by Nadav Lapid, Israeli filmmaker. I brought this guy up to Sean and Nabil, and they said they had seen one of his other films and it was amazing. So they both were already pumped for this movie. So it's an Israeli film, and it's apparently like a cutting satire about Israeli society, and then it's a cutting anti-war film, and it depicts the war in Gaza as being like a genocide that is scarring the nation. And I literally read that there is a scene where you can see Gaza in the distance, in the
Oh,
background.
fuck.
So he's literally making a fiction film where you can see like the rubble of Gaza. And the main characters are all like drug addict people that like go to orgies and go to like nightclubs. So it's like a full on nightmarish, horrifically difficult to watch, disgusting, depraved movie, and the filmmaker is being incredibly politically courageous to make a movie critical of his own government in a time of war. And in this interview, he was saying that all these people were like dropping out of the movie because their agent probably told them to. And and he said he's just had all these problems with making it, but he apparently started to make it before October 7th, but then he like kind of incorporated October 7th into the film. So I'm very intrigued because it sounds like it's the most controversial movie of Cannes. It sounds like people thought it was great, but it also sounds like it is a lot, like it goes in on a very horrific situation. But again, it seems like it has like a moral compass, so I'm very intrigued. And just to get through my last three, Surat, I already mentioned, sounds
Yes.
incredible. Surat, I think, is a guaranteed great film. I already kind of described the plot, so I can move on. Yeah, and then I talked about The Secret Agent. So The Secret Agent also, I think, from my experience, from the podcast I was listening to, and just generally people like their enthusiasm about films, I think The Secret Agent, The Mastermind, and Sentimental Value were the most loved films that screened at Cannes. And then the Jafar Panahi, I think, is like in that category of like there was like, like the top 4 or top 5 highest rated films. But The Secret Agent is about a technology expert in his early 40s who's on the run, and it's set in Brazil in the 70s. He arrives in Recife during Carnival Week, hoping to reunite with his son, but soon realizes that the city is far from being the non-violent refuge he seeks. So I heard a couple of things. I heard that this movie starts by making you think it's going to be like a thriller, and then it kind of dissipates and it goes in a direction you don't expect. And then I was just told that I heard a rumor that Hong Sang-soo personally was in love with the movie. That Hong Sang-soo, who is one of the greatest directors in the world today, he is one of my idols, one of the great geniuses. He makes 2 movies a year. He's just so prolific. He's has such and the other thing with Hong Sang-soo is he's known for making movies about the everyday and the mundane, but then he reinvents how he like kind of makes the movie because he writes the scripts in the mornings. So he'll get all these actors together and then he'll write the dialogue the morning they shoot a scene. That's what Hong Sang-soo does. So I take him very seriously. If I'm hearing that he says The Secret Agent is incredible, that makes me even more excited. And I was already intrigued about the film before I heard that, but I heard that Hong Sang-soo personally pushed for it to get multiple awards. He wanted it to get not just best director but best actor. So it really sounds like it's actually just such a compelling movie, you know. But
Fuck.
no, yeah, we've covered a lot, and obviously the film I am most excited for by a lot is Lav Diaz Magellan.
Oh, who would have known what
Obviously, anyone who knows me, I bring up Lav Diaz all the time over the years. He is the greatest director. For me, he's the greatest filmmaker, I mean, basically of all time. I mean, he's had such an unbelievable career, and people just kind of pretend like they understand that. Like the critics on this podcast really took an L talking about him because one guy was like, he's like, yeah, I mean, his movies are just so long. Like, I just can't watch them. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. It's like just such a you can't look at a filmmaker who, and again, for context, Lav Diaz, all of his films are like usually, he's made like 5 or 8 movies that are 6 to 10 hours long. He made Evolution of a Filipino Family, took him 12 or 15 years to make, and it's like following this family. He pulled off like a Boyhood before Richard Linklater. You see one of the actors like aged by like 10 years from like a little kid into like an older boy in the movie. But it's literally like a 10.5 hour long movie, or like 11 hours or something. Evolution of a Filipino Family. So this movie, what really pisses me off by these critics saying that this movie is slow is that this film is only, I think, 2 hours 45, I want to
Yeah,
say.
no, it's like he's like coming more towards them.
Yeah,
Like
and they're still
what do they
bitching.
fucking want?
Yeah. But here's the good news. It still did get, like, all the reviews are like, yeah, it's vintage Lav Diaz. But people are allergic to acknowledging who visionary artists are. And they want to like make excuses. But I mean, it's clearly the best film that screened at Cannes by a wide margin. I mean, I don't even need to like see it to know that it's going to be better than everybody's movie. But it just drives me insane with Lav Diaz because if you give into it, if you try, if you watch an 8-hour movie, you'll be surprised. If you're listening to this podcast and you've ever heard of the movie Satan Tango, if you give it a try, you're going to understand why it's 7.5 hours long, you know? And that's basically Lav Diaz. I mean, he makes epics. He just makes epics. Like what's the problem with that? But again, I think the main problem people have with Diaz is that he's kind of the king of slow cinema, similar to Bellatar, where I would say Bellatar is honestly easier for people to digest because Bellatar, he makes films that are very technically, like with the sound and with the camera motion and stuff, they're engaging even though they're slow. So you can kind of get into this hypnosis with it. And you know, Lav Diaz's films are very hypnotic as well, but he features a lot less. He doesn't do like tracking shots like Bellatar. Like with Bellatar, you can watch his films and just be blown away by the camera movement and the music and everything. And with Lav Diaz, it's usually even slower than Bellatar. And you know, I mean, the sound is definitely a big component of it, but it's a lot of like just static shots, and it'll be someone walking from the far distance into the frame. But it's hypnotic. You get set on a completely different wavelength of understanding time. And I mean, I could go on and on and on about every Lav Diaz film that's unbelievable because it's endless. It's endless. I mean, he's made like 10 masterpieces. I mean, it's so many. It's like every film he's made, like almost every film he's made is incredible. But to give like a taste, and the other thing he does that's crazy is he explores different genres. So he'll just do like a completely different genre, like out of nowhere, and just do like an insanely unique film. So in 2019, before COVID, he made a dystopian political thriller in a world, and it's like a 3-hour movie called The Halt, and this screened at Cannes in 2019. It's a dystopian political thriller. It's in a world where a flu pandemic ravages the population. He released it a year before COVID. literally about a flu pandemic. And then one of the other plot points is that a volcano has erupted and the entire world is in darkness because a volcano erupted. And so everyone on Earth now lives in total darkness. And there are fucking weird ass drones that follow people around that are like surveillance like drones from the totalitarian government, like watching people. So the whole movie's set at night and it's all black and white, gorgeous digital cinematography. And he's also known for being a very political filmmaker. He's highly critical of the Filipino government, specifically Duterte. And so this movie, he has kind of like a fascist like caricature as like the main like enemy of the film. So there's literally like scenes with like the president of the nation and then like cutting to like the main characters who are like part of the resistance in like a dystopian thriller. I mean, who has even heard of a movie like that? Like just the description alone should prove how different this guy is built. And then he did Season of the Devil, which is a 4-hour a cappella musical.
Oh yeah, that I remember when we saw that. That's some people didn't like it, but
Oh yeah, you were there for that screening.
I was.
Yeah, didn't we get like a screening together at Columbia where we had like 10 people and we were just watching a screener of Lav Diaz musical?
Yeah, they're like, we killed your family.
Oh, it's horrific. And that's the other thing that people get really he shows like he'll have like horrific violence, he'll have torture scenes, he'll have like really terrifying like sexual assault situations. So he doesn't pull any punches. He'll make a movie that's 8 hours long and then it'll be an epic and then it'll have disturbing content matter. But to get to the matter at hand before I completely snap of just constantly bringing up every Lav Diaz that I've seen that's great. Magellan, which is going to be his most seen film because it's starring Gabriel Garcia Bernal, who's like a famous actor,
Yup.
as Magellan. And I'm so excited for this movie. Have you heard who the cinematographer is for this, Austin?
I thought Lav Diaz like shot his own film, so I'm unsure.
Yeah, I think usually he does. I think he'll have like a cinematographer at times, but I'm pretty sure in a lot of cases he's just a one-man guy. Like he'll do everything for his film. But Artur Tort, who is Albert Serra's cinematographer,
Oh shit!
and he shot Pacifiction, which is like one of the most stunning. When I talk to people about contemporary film, Albert Serra's on the tip of my lips, and Pacifiction is the best film of the 2020s for sure. And we're 5 years into the 2020s. Things can change, but it's as of right now, that's the best film of the 2020s so far. And that was Artur Tort cinematography, and everyone's saying that Magellan is like just hypnotically beautiful cinematography. And it's one of the first color films he's made. I mean, Lav Diaz only had done Norte, The End of History in color, which is I think that's a Dostoevsky adaptation. And that's the other thing with Diaz is he's very like Tolstoy, Dostoevsky coded. Like he loves those writers, so he'll have stories that are always kind of like that. Like The Woman Who Left. It's like about a woman who is falsely accused, is based off Tolstoy, falsely accused, goes to prison for decades, gets out of prison, and like learns who ratted on her and like has to forgive them or something like that.
That was a great screening.
Yeah, and then The Woman Who Left is another.
I remember this dude
film
with like a wife beater in front of us and like no hair and glasses. The last like 10 seconds of the movie, he like smacks his leg like.
Oh yeah, I kind of remember that because it was like another really long shot.
He was having a really tough time. God bless him.
Yeah, and I think Woman Who Left is like 3.5 hours or almost 4 hours. So again, it's in Lav Diaz vibe. It's pretty short. And then From What Is Before is another Titanic masterpiece. And my favorite is A Lullaby to a Sorrowful Mystery, which is an 8-hour film on like it's set in the early 1910s and involves like a Filipino revolution, and there's Filipino gods that he brings in into the movie. And Meryl Streep saw it in Berlin because she was part of the jury for A Lullaby to a Sorrowful Mystery,
Yeah.
and she said the movie it reworked the atoms in my body. It changed like my molecular chemistry or something. She said something like that. Like my entire life is different because I just
That's
saw this movie.
sexy, dude.
And it's an 8-hour film. Eight
That's
hours,
sexy.
black and white, and it got like a visionary prize. And nobody talks about it. And I definitely think that's his best film, but you can pick almost any of his films and say that it's the greatest thing you've ever seen, but no one's seen him. It's annoying. No one's even seen him. And people just don't understand how great he is. And I've shown people. So what happens a lot, and this is what happened when I was first discovering him, is I would have roommates that would kind of come into the room when I was watching him, and they would sit there for 2 or 3 hours, and then after 2 or 3 hours, they'd be like, "Yeah, I can see that this is special." You can tell if you just try to watch a caliber of filmmaker like a Lav Diaz or like a Bellatar, and you have some nerves about it, and it's kind of because it is daunting. I mean, they are not trying to make movies that are easy to watch, and that's part of the aesthetic. That's part of the goal is to make movies that are honest to life, I mean, that are challenging and that are truthful about time. And obviously a film is always going to lie to you about time because it's kind of what you're working with in a film, only a certain amount of time. And I do understand, Manuel Oliveira, who had made the Satin Slipper in the 80s, an 8-hour film, and he was a legendary Portuguese filmmaker who he lived to 106 or 107, Manuel de Oliveira,
Yeah.
and he was still working. His last film he made, Gable in the Shadow, when he was like 106 years old. And it is interesting because he had made an 8-hour film in the 80s, and he had made like a 3-hour film and a 4-hour film. So he made some longer films. But by the time he got to being 100, he was very content to make like a 90-minute movie or like an hour-long movie, which is what happened with Tolstoy. Tolstoy hated that he wrote War and Peace. He was furious at himself. He wrote What is Art, and he basically just goes, "Yeah, I was like, I shouldn't have made books that the average person couldn't engage with." He was angry that his books were so inaccessible. And so then he decided to really write shorter work. And he did Haji Murat, which is one of his unknown masterpieces, Tolstoy this is, and it's only like 110 120 pages or something, and it's like kind of perfect. And then the last thing Tolstoy wrote was God Sees the Truth But Waits, which is a 10-page story, and it's about someone being wrongly accused of a crime, going to prison for 30 years, getting out of prison, and forgiving the person that wrongly accused them. So that's kind of in Lav Diaz. I mean, he did that with The Woman Who Left. Uh, Norte, The End of History, I want to say is kind of Crime and Punishment. I'm pretty sure it's something like that, or it's another Dostoevsky. And then A Lullaby to the Sorrowful Mystery. There's this whole, not to spoil it, but there's a character that's seemingly like a villainous character, and he's like a malignant force in the movie. And one of the other characters, he gets injured in like a gunfight or something, or like in a revolutionary scenario, and one of the other characters just nurses him, like just takes care of him for 2 or 3 hours of the movie, and he's like transporting him from one place to another. And so it's constantly this guy who you thought was the villain of the movie is just being taken care of, like someone is like, just from the goodness of their heart, trying to keep this person less sick. And it's really touching, and there's just these unbelievable shots of like the water. And I mean, water is like a great motif in Lav Diaz because the Philippines is constantly raining, and he has so many long shots of people like on boats and stuff. So Magellan is kind of just perfect for his like career. And I've heard that it's crazy hypnotic. I heard there are constantly battle sequences, but you don't see the battle. You only see the aftermath of battles in Magellan. And the other thing that I heard, so I heard he Lav Diaz has had some health problems. Like he was actually like really sick. And he, to be honest, he did look sickly at the con premiere, unfortunately. And I know he's had health problems before in his life. I want to say he's like maybe in his 60s at this point.
66.
Okay. Yeah, so he's had some health problems, but he's had a pretty full career, but he's just never really gotten recognition because these movies are so long. But I'm so pumped that he's working with such a big actor. Now people actually see it. So I heard that he was planning on doing the film about Magellan, but it was going to be about his wife. It was going to be about Magellan's wife as the main character. And he said he still plans on making a 9-hour film starring Magellan's wife. So this is the short the short version. And this is the one about Magellan specifically. But I hear the film is not all that critical of Magellan in particular, and I think Magellan might like end up in the Philippines too. So I believe that's one of the connections for him. But yeah, it sounds like a lot of it is on this boat, and I think they like restored like just an old epic boat, or they're on like a boat that's like 500 years old or something insane for the shooting.
Yeah, I saw clips of that.
Yeah, so it looks absolutely stunning, and the teasers I'm seeing are stunning, and I have zero doubt in my mind. I mean, I'm excited for a lot of movies and stuff, but that are at the Cannes Film Festival. Zero doubt in my mind, Magellan will be untouchable. And again, I mean, I was already excited for it. The fact that he's working with Artur Tort, and then the fact the movie's literally produced by Albert Serra, and Albert Serra produced Misericordia too. So Andergron is just touching complete masterpieces. Every movie that Andergron produces is like a masterpiece. And man, he is the man. I think you can rent his movies on Mubi outside. I think The Woman Who Left in Norte you can like rent like on YouTube, but I think Mubi is where you can see a lot more stuff. But he's tough to find and stuff, but it's worth it. I'm telling you, if there's any filmmaker I really wish I could convince people and how great he is, it's definitely Lav Diaz. I mean, he's just such an inspiration. He's just so willing to push his films as far as humanly possible and just do things you've never seen in a film before, and he'll just effortlessly try different genres, and then his movies will mix in these incredible monologues about history and politics, and like there's incredibly long sequences of people walking great distances and stuff, and people like experiencing time. But there's also dialogues in his films that just blow your mind, where it'll be like two people sitting at a table talking about world history, and it'll be genius. I mean, he's a genius writer, literally writes full scripts. There's like no improvisation for Lav Diaz. And also, if you make movies this long, this is kind of a pro tip, you don't really do takes when you make. And again, also, he's always been a digital filmmaker. Is one of the reasons he was able to make films that were so long, is that it was always digital for him, because it would be impossible on film for years. Because oh my god, one of my other favorite Lav Diaz stories is when he was at Berlin for the Lullaby to a Sorrowful Mystery screening, and he was like part of like some kind of conversation, or he was like at like a dinner with all these like cinematographers who are in competition, and they all were bringing up to each other how expensive the cameras were that they made their movies with. So like, oh yeah, my camera's like $500,000, or oh yeah, my camera's like $1 million, right? Lav Diaz shot A Lullaby to a Sorrowful Mystery with a $2,000 camera, and he made an 8-hour movie in a 25-day shooting schedule.
That's yeah.
It doesn't even make any sense how that's possible. Like he's just built different. I mean, people don't quite understand. They want to like think that there's a cheat code or something, or he's doing something, but oh no, that's just too long. You can't make a movie that long. That's the problem with that. It's just too long. It's like, guys, you can't just on its face take the most ambitious filmmaker to ever live and cut him at the knees because he's ambitious. You can't do that. Nobody's ambitious. Nobody. Not one person on this planet, outside of a select few, have actual ambition to, especially in the world of art, to make something that is unique or something that is spectacular and great, striving for something. Nobody tries. Nobody fucking tries. I mean, Ethan Cohen, his movie probably is so terrible compared to Magellan. It's probably just a bag of trash. But I might still see it just out of curiosity, but that's the comparison of a filmmaker that does not try. The Coen brothers take off every other movie. I mean, and they get praised constantly. And we didn't even talk about Wes Anderson either. It's another guy that just
Yeah,
takes
I
off
didn't
every
feel
other
the need to
movie.
bring him up.
Yeah. And these are the guys that are world famous. But Lav Diaz, who bleeds for his films, that makes films about just passionately against fascism. He just hates Duterte. He hates the dictators of the Philippines, and he's openly, courageously calling them out constantly. He's always shit talking the dictators of the Philippines, and he's always talking about history. He's talking about, you know, the forces of good in history, which is, you know, kind of a cliche, but when you see it in Lav Diaz, it means something. When you see the horrors of the world and the movie is punishingly long, and you see like torture sequences, and you see, you know, evil regimes oppressing a population, but then it's contrasted with the beauty of the environment and nature and like this greater natural world that people just have to exist in. I mean, there's just something so poetic about Lav Diaz's characters. They're always just in rain, similar to Bellatar. It's always raining, so there's like a miserable vibe to it, but they still exist. They persevere. Lav Diaz's films are about strength and perseverance, and I mean, honestly, faith to a large degree. I mean, I think I don't want to say he's necessarily tackled spiritual subjects totally straight on, but he's had like that kind of dialogue in his films too. He'll have characters talking about God and religion and stuff, and in Lullaby, there's like Christian missionaries and stuff. So I think Magellan might have a lot to do with that as well. That it could have to do with, you know, right or wrong, these characters making like local populations like convert to Christianity and stuff. So I'm sure there's going to be a whole Christian angle as well to this film, if I had to guess. But no, I mean, he's special. He's completely transcendent. I don't even think I can do justice to just how great he is. I'm so excited for this movie. Well, I mean, we might be obligated to do an episode on it, but we're gonna have to figure out how we're both gonna see it. But we might have
for
to.
me.
And you know, nobody will watch our interview, or no one will listen to our review on Magellan. But it's definitely gonna be like life changing, great, and I'm so pumped. But yeah, I mean that's basically it. I just talked about Lav Diaz for 30 minutes of the podcast, but we touched on a lot. I
What are
mean,
you
we
gonna
touched on
do?
like at least like 20 movies that are playing at Cannes,
Yeah.
or that just played.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's good to be back from the dead, dude.
Yeah, hopefully I'm going to be furious if this app gives us problems, because I just don't want to spend more money. I don't want to.
Everyone at Podbean, we are going to send a nuke to the fucking
Oh my.
facility.
No, yeah,
H-bomb, no doubt.
we love Podbean. They are good and great. We appreciate them, but
Zach, flip the script.
oh, but anyway.
Podbean has a great service to us. We are great to have.
The script we have to read. Well, goodbye, everybody. That's it. Don't know what the next episode will be, but we're going to talk about it off mic. God bless. Christian God loves you.